Story 1. My husband always been the quiet type, very soft and sincere. The last thing I ever expected from him was him dipping his dick into another woman. We had been married 4 years, no problem. Everything was great. Well, at least I thought, but this was about to change everything. I guess because my husband was such a catch, the other lady felt compelled to have him herself. It was a Sunday morning and the whole family was at home. Everyone was having breakfast. The mood was generally normal if they as such. My phone rang. I wasn't gonna pick it up since I was still eating, but everyone gave me a stare as if to say, oh, you don't want to pick up your phone because it might be your boyfriend. I had to pick it up. The conversation went like this. The woman. Hello, can I speak to Susan? I replied. This is Susan. How can I help you? The woman. I'm carrying Thomas's baby. I'm 7 months pregnant now. He promised he was gonna tell you, but I figured he wasn't going to. I got very irritated. First of all, I didn't know why this bitch was telling me that she is pregnant for my husband. I felt so disrespected. Honestly, I felt like it could have been better if I heard it from him. I wanted to kill him. I was furious. I was prepared to deal with a cheating husband, but a pregnant mistress, that was just above my pay grade. That same day I packed a bag, just a few clothes, and I left. I never looked back since we later divorced. Turns out it wasn't even my husband's baby. The bitch was screwing her boss too. So you can imagine how my ex-husband is feeling now, all single and alone. Story 2. My ex-wife really wanted to have a baby. She was in her mid-30s, so kind of running out of time. We tried and it wasn't happening as fast as she wanted. After a month plus of no sex, which should have been a big red flag, in retrospect, she comes home one day, takes all her shit, and just leaves. Only once she was gone did she eventually admit to me that she went and got herself pregnant by another man. Got divorced. By the way, the other guy was someone she had not apparently known long or well, and he wanted nothing to do with the kid. So she is raising it now as a single mother. Her choice. Story 3. When my wife of 18 years got her first smartphone, she didn't have a personal email. So she used mine to access Google services. One fine May morning, a year or so later, I got an automated message from Google Pictures in my cell. Would you like to make an album of your new photos? Although I don't open these messages, I opened this one. There were about 25 photos of my wife with an unknown man. In some they were hugging and kissing, in some they were in a hotel room wearing only their underwear. We are divorced for 2 years now. Thank God I kept the house and the kids. She also pays alimony. Story 4. There was this Chinese buffet in my hometown at which I used to eat quite regularly. Probably more often than a person interested in their health and well-being should. The woman at the front desk would seat me herself and bring me my drink rather than the waitresses. The head chef would always come out and greet me and give me a polite smile and ask me if I wanted anything specific made, of which I never really took advantage. So, in other words, these people knew who I was and actually cared about my business. I used to go there all the time with my then girlfriend. One day, I went in there alone on my lunch break. The woman at the front desk approached me at my table. She asked me, "You and your girlfriend break up?" I was confused. No. Oh. Then she said, very matter-of-factly, she come in here earlier with another man. She kiss him. I was shocked. What? She did? Yeah, she said, very excitedly, and pointed to a table. She sat over there. So I texted her. Hey, I'm at the buffet for lunch. Wanna join me? She replied, no. I already ate. Cool. Where'd you go? She replied, my mom's. So I said, really? Because the waitress said she saw you here earlier. 5 minutes later, she texted, yeah, I went there. But I didn't eat anything. At that point, I lost interest in pursuing the truth, so I just said, cool. We're done. I left the woman at the desk a $20 tip. Story 5. This sounds like a soap opera, but I swear it's true. My high school sweetheart and father of my 2 oldest kids was MIA. I called his mom's house and his buddy answered. I ask for my boyfriend and he asks if this is Angie. No. Who is Angie? Turns out she's his new girlfriend. Also, she's pregnant. I peaced out. So fast forward a few years later. I've been married to someone else for 4 years, X is married to someone else, and I suspect my husband is cheating. So X's wife is picking up the kids for the weekend, and she asks me if husband and I are okay. Turns out my husband's truck was at Angie's house when wife picked up ex's daughter for the weekend. Wait, what? So they leave, I drive over, see his truck, knock on the door, and guess who answers? Shirtless? Yep. Darling hubby. Seriously? He follows me home, big fight ensues, and I kick him out. I'd like to say that this girl is gorgeous and they just couldn't resist her, but the opposite is true. She looks like droopy dog on meth. Fast forward a couple of years later and I'm remarried, still married 18 years later, and we're at a bar, watching a friend in the band that night. Angie shows up. I point her out and threaten penal dismemberment if he ever even looks at her. She contacted me on Facebook shortly after asking why I don't like her. I was flabbergasted. How do you not know? Story 6. Going to try not to make this too much of a wall of text. Dated for 9 years and married less than a month. We rushed getting married because of insurance issues since she needed a surgery and I was in the process of getting tested to see if I could donate part of my liver to her. She becomes more and more distant and I just keep trying harder. Notice more and more she was always on my computer and texting a guy who was just a friend. Got fed up and installed a keylogger to see that it was much more. Saying she would rather be with him and what to do if I tried to sleep with her. I found out after driving home an hour from work and read everything. Woke her up, threw my ring against the wall, and told her to get out. She ended up moving in with him and marrying him. Not sure whatever happened with her health issues. Even worse is apparently the bartender heard her talking to the guy before the ceremony saying she wasn't sure if she could go through with it, so that was nice of her at the time. Luckily I found my perfect match much later, and I couldn't be happier with her and our daughter. Story 7. This was so ironic, poetic justice. I was going to counseling for marital problems which my husband said were all my fault. I was young, dumb and believe him. I was scattered and disorganized, always forgetting things and misplacing things, due to undiagnosed ADHD, inattentive type. That was why he didn't love me, and so I was going to counseling to try to fix myself. One evening I rushed off to my weekly 7 p.m. counseling appointment, only to remember, after driving about 2 blocks, that it was cancelled for that week. I immediately turned around and drove back home to find him and his girlfriend naked and making out on the living room floor. Marital problem solved. Story 8. When I got a phone call from her dad who told me to get myself down to a clinic and get myself tested for any STDs. It turned out his daughter, my girlfriend, had been sleeping with any number of other men and telling them all, as she had told me, that she was on the pill. The reality was she wanted to get pregnant, and although she had been getting the pill, she was flushing them down the toilet each morning. Fortunately, I was clear. Story 9. My wife and I worked opposite shifts. I worked during the day, she worked nights. This was because we had 1-year-old twins. By working opposite shifts, that meant there was always one of us home to take care of the twins. We were friends with a neighbor couple, and they also worked opposite shifts. He worked nights, and she worked days. Since we were friends with them, we knew that they had a vacation to Las Vegas coming up the following week. So, my wife had come home from work, and I was getting dressed. She had gone to take a shower, while I was watching the babies and finishing getting dressed. As I was tying my shoes, one of the babies walked over to my wife's purse, pulled a folded piece of paper from the purse, walked over and handed it to me. Without even thinking, I just unfolded it to see what it was. And what I found was a love letter written by my wife to an unknown person. She talked about how much she loved him, how much she enjoyed sex with him, and how much she was going to miss him on his vacation to Vegas. So yeah, my year-old baby was the one that informed me of my wife's affair with my friend neighbor. Story 10. I was with a woman for 7 years, married, had a daughter with her. It was our kid's birthday, and she received a phone call from someone. She played it off as the wrong number. 20 minutes later she informs me that she's having an emotional affair. I ask, like on the internet? And she replies, no, in person. I respond, have you slept with them? She said, yes. Turns out the phone call was the guy's wife telling her she is dropping him off at our place, and she'd better tell me. Turns out they had been having an affair for 6 months. She basically had no leg to stand on, claimed abuse, tried to sell everything in the home after I was ejected, Army's cool-off plan. After the dust cleared I dropped a bunch of weight, started traveling the world, took my daughter to places that I never imagined. She hates me for it. She's still with him and they both are hateful and miserable. I thought my life was over then. Turns out it had just begun. Story 11. We never technically got married. We were engaged. 5 years together. I proposed. She said yes. 2 weeks before our wedding was to happen, I got off work early, came home to find her fucking some scraggly, homeless-looking other dude in our bed. Instead of murder both of them on the spot, my first instinct, I walked out and stayed at my parents' for a couple of days. I go back to the apartment and she's gone. Have my stuff with her. Went to her work, she quit and they haven't seen her. Called her parents and they wouldn't talk to me. Didn't even get the ring back. A year later, a notification pops up on Facebook, people you might know. Profile picture is her in a wedding dress next to the guy I caught her fucking. So, maybe she's happy. I don't know. I spent the next 2 years solid drunk and ended up doing something really, really stupid. Wasn't successful, but I still think of trying again sometimes. Went through some major depression and self-worth issues that I still don't even think I'm fully over. I'm off the booze and doing better than I was, but it still weighs on me every day.